What's up, guys? It's your boys Wokey back with another Chris Watts video, and we need to go back to the truck. Yes, we're going back to the truck, okay? One, because I think I found a cab of said truck, 2015 F250 quad cab. I'm going to try to get it so I can do my construct, or not deconstruction, but pretty much deconstruction of the crime scene, and then pretty much show if it was possible to be put into the back of the truck at her weight, size, and so forth. So that's coming hopefully very soon. But somebody had mentioned in one of the Facebook forums that I follow, they're like, Zwoki, the truck was searched properly. Really? So I was like, we need to go back to the truck. So we're going back to the truck so that this person can see the amount of major mistakes that were done with said truck and more in Miss Michelle After Dark, another YouTube channel that I follow, subscribe, and do enjoy. So link is going to be down in the description. Go check her out. But before we go any further as well, make sure you guys subscribe to my channel by hitting that white bar icon down at the bottom right. Hit that bell icon next to it. So when I do post videos like this one, you guys will get that little ring notification that I posted that video. Then you guys can watch, comment, like, and share. And again, thank you so much for the love and support. And with that being said, let's get into Chris Watts' work truck. Search reveals major mistakes and more. Let's take a look. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I don't feel that Shanann was put in this truck. There was not enough room. There was not enough for him to pick her up and carry her out into this truck without anybody seeing. I still don't believe it. I still think she was taken out the back. Why does this matter? Because of a possible other person involved. That's why we try to watch some of these videos as much as we can, the stuff that is allowed for us to see publicly, because I still think that there's somebody else involved, and I'm trying to prove that. So that's why we're watching this. Because if somebody else was involved, then it would show that we need to talk to Kessinger. I don't think anybody else was involved. Everybody keeps saying that there's possibly more people than just NK. I think it's just NK. The reason why it was possibly Nicole calling out to Jim in that ping in Frederick, Colorado, where she called Jim for 1 minute. I think he was either a lookout or I don't know what he was, but I don't think he was involved at all. Besides helping with not like a witness, but a person, a lookout, pretty much. But I don't know why. But again, everybody keeps saying that there might be more than one or two people. I think it's just the one or two people. It's Chris, which thank God he's in prison, but I feel still that NK is involved and she needs to be charged. Yeah, let's continue. I'm going to put closed captioning so we can hear what these gentlemen say.
Your turn signal's on.
Been on. Might have to turn and hurry.
And again, I'm not gonna lie, but when I've been watching like the first 48, all these new episodes because they're on Amazon Plus or Amazon Prime. So I've been watching them, and I'm watching them and seeing what they do when they get to the crime scene or like a missing persons case. There was 2 of them on there. And you know what they did? They gloved up. They went over there and they're touching things with like their pens, but they're touching it like they're moving it over because they don't want to touch it. If they go into a house, they're wearing booties so that they don't tamper or cross-contaminate the evidence that there may be. And they're moving things over like this with the pen. They're gloved up. In some cases, they've had to actually put suits on. 1, because of how biohazard it is. And 2, they don't want to disturb anything in the crime scene. Now, watching these guys, they're touching it with their hands. Yes, I know it's still technically a missing persons case, but in my personal stance, I think every missing case should be technically considered a crime scene, like a murder crime scene, because you don't know if that person's coming back. The goal is to get that person back alive and safe, but if it doesn't, then they preciously made sure that nothing was tampered with, and they don't have to worry about, oh, did we cross contaminate? No. So, and everybody's like, well, Smokey, you're just watching like CSI New York and you're just comparing it to this. You're stupid. Like, I'm not comparing it to CSI. CSI is for the ones that we watched growing up, is there to like be Hollywood looking. I'm watching the first 48. I'm watching cold case files. I'm watching actual interviews that are done with real police officers and detectives and so forth. And the amount that they have like done when it comes to people like MK or NK, it's ridiculous. They've arrested them for tampering with evidence, messing with the case by lying to them. This person got 5 years for lying and deleting emails or Facebook messaging between her and her boyfriend. And those two combined gave her 7 years. She didn't murder anybody. She just deleted messages so that showed that she wasn't there when the murders happened. She never pulled the trigger. She never, like, she was in the balcony when this happened, and she just ran away once it happened. She wasn't technically involved, but she talked to the murderer, and deleting of the messages and hampering the crime. She got 7 years because she was removing evidence. Why is NK not in this? I know it's two different spaces. I think that was Cleveland, Ohio, or something like that, and this is Colorado, so it could be different. The reason why I was mentioning all that is because watching these officers do what they're doing, like touching the back and just kind of like, yeah, whatever. Okay, I'm going to go over here. The dogs. Again, I'm not a professional. I don't know. I'm not educated in criminology. I feel that I could add my opinions and they might matter. Why does all of us do YouTube? For videos and fun. I mean, so just watching these guys just see what they do, and it just really makes you mad. You're like, don't touch it. Oh, he's touching it. Oh, he's touching it. And you're like, oh, don't go over there. Oh, he went over there. Gosh, go away. Go away. It's just, you're not an educated, or you're not educated in this field, but like some common sense where you're just like, no.
Dispatch, Project 988.
What does that mean, Project 980, in police terms? Does anybody know? Can I Google that? Hold on. So the Project 980 means treating, what did they say? Treating, oh, where'd I go? Temporary questioning without arrest is what it means. So, at least he's taking pictures.
Queen.
And then some hater of Shanann said she was put in the back of the truck, like the bed. There's no room, dude.
Frank Tom 682.
Where do you see that a pregnant woman could be in there? Where?
Is this the truck you always drive?
I wish with the body cam footage we could see into that truck. And plus the back windows are tinted. See, you're not fitting nobody back there.
Yeah, you can go in the house, yeah.
There's a tank and 3 toolboxes back there. Oh, see, it's right there, right next to the door.
Oh, there's no computer in it, so I don't know how. Yes, if it's computer, yeah.
You just wish you would have seen
Hello
anything
and
else in
welcome to
there.
another video on the Watts Family Murders. It's Michelle here. I hope you're doing well. So today we're going to be looking at some crime scene analysis.
Yes, please.
Specifically, we're going to be looking at what was analysed in Chris's grey work truck. We know quite a lot about this truck.
Or did they do all the little, like, where they take the brush and they brush it to see if they can get fingerprints? Did they do that? Did they, like, I don't think that's in all of the discovery.
Right, it's
Just
property of
pieces.
Anadarko. Chris Watts worked for Anadarko, and as part of his job, he got a truck that he
Yeah, again, where are you going to put Shanann? First, they said that she was put in here, but he said she was put in the cab, which again, I don't think you can even fit her in that cab on the floor. But then he's like, no, they put her back here. Now where? You're not putting nobody back here.
could use for work purposes only, so he couldn't take his family around in them. So really only Chris and his work colleagues, possibly if he gave one of those a lift to a scene, would have ever been in that truck. So potentially a lot of
I see the gas can still there and the two shovels.
scene evidence in that truck, specifically as it was suspected, because Chris told them so, he transported the bodies of his wife Shanann and daughters Bella and Cece from home at 2825 Saratoga Trail to Survey 319, the family's final resting place. At the time that this analysis took place, Chris had only confessed to killing
And they're putting them in plastic bags. That's a no-no. Apparently, when I looked at it online, they said plastic is bad. It's paper.
Shanann. He'd not confessed to killing Bella and Cece. Chris said
At least he's got gloves on.
that Shanann had killed Bella and Cece. That's why he killed her. So we also see on the afternoon of the 13th, we see via Officer Coonrod's body cam, Chris being really nervous, behaving very strangely, when next door neighbour Nate showed Officer Coonrod the security camera footage from the front of his home, and we saw Chris backing his truck into the driveway at about 5:18 a.m. as per the GPS on Chris's truck, and then loading things in. Nate said this was very unusual that Chris would do this, loading things in backwards and forwards.
Then he never did it
For approximately half an hour, and then at 5:46 he drove away. So you would think that the truck would be an important piece of crime scene evidence. Well, let's see what was done. Now, there is some kind of misconceptions about what was found in this truck. People said, well, they've not found any hair.
I think the green lighter was found in the Lexus. Somebody told me it was in the truck. I'm like, no, it's not in the truck. It's in the Lexus.
They didn't find any body fluids. They didn't find anything in the truck to suspect that Chris even transported Shanann and the girls. I mean, we've since learned that the girls were alive, and we see possibly a shadow of a child underneath on that footage of Nate's when you blow it up and you really look closely at it. So people say, well, because there was no evidence in the truck, then he can't have transported them in the truck.
So then how did
which
he get
is
them there?
A logical thing to assume. Also, people say the search dogs didn't alert at the truck. Well, actually, one dog did alert. Jane's dog, Cody, the Labrador, the search and rescue dog. He alerted at the truck. It wasn't a hard alert, according to handler Jane, but he did show interest in the truck.
But then they alerted like hell down in the basement. That makes no sense.
Only sniffed the outside. He wasn't allowed inside. The reasons why the search dogs weren't allowed inside the truck is because it's not Chris's property. It's property of Anadarko. So they would have needed a search warrant to go inside the truck. why didn't they just get a search warrant is the question. But anyway,
right.
And also the police weren't allowed to search inside the truck. They took some photographs on the afternoon of the 13th of August, but they weren't allowed inside that truck. Again, they needed a search warrant. Why didn't they get one? Because I guess
they could have got it so fast.
On the 13th and possibly also the 14th, although suspicions were growing about Chris, it was a missing persons inquiry. So one would assume that they went missing while Chris was at work. So they didn't yet get a search warrant. Anyway, let's look at this crime scene report and see whether we can debunk any of the misconceptions about this case in relation to Chris's truck. So this is crime scene analyst David Yoakum's report, and it's a long report because it's a full crime scene analysis. Now, it's about Anadako, about the house. We only want the vehicle information. So let's pop down part way through this report. Here we go. So scene investigation, vehicles. So there's 2 vehicles that they searched. Chris's work truck, which is the focus of this video, and then Shanann's Lexus 350. We're not going to worry about that because nothing happened in the Lexus. No one was there in Lexus.
Yeah, the only thing that was really of a concern is if he possibly was trying to get rid of evidence of NK, or getting the ring that somebody said that possibly was getting removed, and then the green lighter part.
This was in the garage the whole time until it was picked up by the recovery people and taken into storage. So on Tuesday, August 21st, 2018 at 10:00 hours, that's 10 a.m., myself and FSK Henson arrived at Oak Street in Frederick to process and execute a search warrant for the 2 vehicles which possibly had been used to transport the deceased victims. Present at the impact.
But he was left home alone that night of the missing persons. So he could have cleaned up. He could have got rid of everything that was needed to get rid of.
Pound lot was Detective Baumhofer and Officer Walgi from Frederick Police Department. After a brief discussion, it was decided that CBI would photograph, so that's Colorado Bureau of Investigations, would photograph, collect and package all evidence located. CBI would also...
Which I was told that they found hair.
...use adhesive-based rollers to collect any possible hairs, fibres or other trace evidence from the Ford truck in an attempt to determine any recent possible occupants of the vehicle. The vehicle, Ford truck and Lexus 350 were being stored by B&L Repair Tire located at 245 Oak Street, Frederick, Colorado. The Lexus was in an indoor pound lot west of the property. Both properties were under the same ownership and control. A 6-foot chain link fence surrounded the property to the west, the building that faces Oak Street.
You know what's funny, and what I've found out is that this truck was sold at auction. Would you want a vehicle that possibly some murder or murderees were in? No. Just crush the car.
Access and entry to the lot is controlled by B&L Repair and Tire through the office on the Oak Street side, as well as lock gate on the 3rd Street side. The building is located on the 3rd Street, is locked, accessible only with assistance from B&L Repair and Tire. The impound facility is contracted for the Frederick PD. Right, so the grey 2015 Ford F-250. The vehicle was parked outdoors in the locked and secure compound to the west of 245 Oak.
Are you kidding me? The truck had been exposed to rain showers earlier in the week. So that means that they didn't even look at the car for a while.
Street, along with several other vehicles. The truck had been exposed to rain showers earlier in the week. It had
put it in a garage.
Rained on the 14th. I know it had rained on the 14th. We see that on some officers' body cams. I don't know whether it rained later in the week as well. Really, we're interested in the internal of the truck, so
well,
not too
possibly
fussed,
the outside.
but it was outside.
If the handles have been touched or whatever.
The truck was in good condition with no obvious signs of damage. The doors were locked and the window glass was not broken. The truck was an alternative fuel truck powered by compressed natural gas. Interesting. The doors to the truck had been secured with evidence tape. Upon inspection, the tape and seals were intact and not broken. And we do actually see the Lexus being sealed, the doors of the Lexus being
but
sealed
not the
on
truck.
officer's body cam. We don't see them on the truck, but we do see it on the Lexus. Scene processing. In the bed of the truck were
the actual important vehicle that we needed to see.
fixed toolboxes and fuel tanks, hose implements, as well as miscellaneous hand tools, which included a round point shovel, a square point shovel, and a sickle, were identified and collected. These were part of his work tools because sometimes he had to dig to fix piping and stuff like that. Chris was an operator. He was out in the field doing repairs and stuff. So these are part of his work tool box, I guess. Also within the bed of the truck was a partially full gas can and a fire extinguisher. We do see him putting a gas can, a red gas can, into the truck on Nate's footage. In the Wisconsin confession on February 2019, Tammy Lee actually brings up the fact that he put the gas can in, and they had a conversation about whether he was actually going to end his own life. All right, so located in the front passenger compartment of the truck, a roll of black plastic bags was observed and collected from the front passenger side door and collected from the front passenger side floorboard. Again, at the Wisconsin confession, they asked him about the trash bags, and he said that he used 2 trash bags, one over Shanann's head and one over her feet, so the girls couldn't see her. The sheet,
but they were white, not black. So what was the black plastic bags for?
that he wrapped her in didn't fully cover her, so he got some trash bags out of the basement and he just kind of threw them in his truck. The front driver's seat and front passenger seat were covered with canvas seat covers. From the steering wheel, a possible DNA swab was collected, but it does appear that that's the only place they collected DNA swabs from, strangely. So I guess the
wouldn't they possibly put in here that from the steering wheel, a possible DNA swab was collected, tested, and was male Chris Watts or female, or like, couldn't they do that so it just answers the question? Because you just kind of are left with a cliffhanger. From the steering wheel, a positive DNA swab was collected. Okay, so was it tested? Is it a boy or a girl, or who is it? Like, we don't know.
Establishing that Chris drove that truck and no one else, but why not collect DNA swabs from the seats, the floor? In the rear seat were 2 large plastic bins that contained miscellaneous work materials, safety equipment, personal items, maps, paperwork. A pair of black rubber boots were located on the floor behind the front passenger seat. Beneath the rear seat were additional miscellaneous tools. So again, all part of Chris's job. Adhesive lifts were collected from the rear seating area and floor. Okay. Located in the front passenger side panel was a green disposable cigarette.
Oh, so this cigarette lighter was in the truck. I thought it was in the Lexus. Or was there 2? I don't know.
Cigarette lighter. Interesting. Chris didn't smoke. And then we've got the Lexus here, so we'll move on.
I wonder, did Nicole smoke?
Because the Lexus isn't important. All items of evidence collected at the impound facility on Tuesday, August the 21st, were transferred to Detective Baumhofer at 1:10 p.m. on Tuesday, the same day. CBI cleared the scene at the Frederick impound at 13:30 on the same day. That moves now on to the Anadarko site. And then we've got the evidence that was collected. 2 shovels, a sickle, a gas can, swabs from the steering wheel.
Brown boots from the Lexus. White shirt from the Lexus. Interesting. Cigarette lighter in the front door panel. Could anybody else use this truck? Like, could you let one of the other employees use it, or I guess it's specifically for him?
For DNA, black plastic bags, driver's seat and front seat cover from the work truck marker, passenger side front seat cover from the work truck, black rubber boots, which were Chris's, trace lift from centre console of work truck, trace lift from rear seat driver's side, trace lift from rear seat passenger side, cigarette lighter.
So a lot of
they did
lifts.
take some trace lifts, but only swabbing from the steering wheel. And then it goes on to the autopsies. There's one more thing I want you to look at before we summarise what all of this means, is that on 9/11/2018, so...
Why isn't there more info on the truck? Like, can't we know what was lifted? What was removed as a swab?
The 11th of September.
Note first that the detective Dave requested analysis of the work truck evidence.
It should be noted that on the 4th of September 2018, while running through the evidence submission list with lab tech Patricia Lopez, several items were listed that the CBI lab ultimately did not wish to take into possession at this time. So the CBI lab, so the Colorado Bureau of Investigation lab, they didn't need these things. Those items were crossed out on the evidence submission form, which have been added to the case file. The refused items are as follows. So oral swabs and swabs.
The refused items? Why are we not taking them? Oral swab, control swab, lift, traced lift from center console? Why are we not looking at them?
That were taken at the autopsies. And then this, driver's side seat cover from work truck, trace lift from centre console, trace lift from back seat. The items that were not taken by CBI were transported back to the Frederick Police Department and checked into evidence there.
So they're literally in Colorado right now. Still.
Nothing further from Amanda Purcell. So does that mean that these lifts, these trace lifts that were taken,
were never used?
Were not analysed? Were they analysed by Frederick PD? Or were they just stored by Frederick PD? Because the crime lab, the CBI crime lab, didn't want them. So does that mean that they were never tested? There's no evidence in the discovery that they were ever tested. So people who say there was no hair or body fluids or anything found in the truck, well, yeah, it wasn't found because it wasn't tested. So
they were collected but never tested.
So it begs the question, why was that stuff not tested? Why was it refused?
Because he confessed. How much you want to bet?
So I'll leave that one with you, because that's very, very intriguing. Tell me what you think in the comments below.
Because see, this report was dated 9/11/2018. So almost a month after the murders had taken place. So he had confessed. They locked him up. So they probably were like, oh, we're going to get this over and take a look at all of it. But they're like, well, we don't need it because he confessed.
Hello. I've been Michelle. I do hope you're well, and I will see you in the next video.
It makes you so angry. Like, when was it okay? Just because I think it's, if somebody confesses, yeah, great. We have everything, but we should look at all parties that were involved still. Like they always say, innocent until proven guilty. We're not even given that chance to even prove that she is guilty. But what's upsetting in this one is that things were collected, swabs from the victims, lift or fingerprints and hair, and they found some stuff in the truck, but they never even tested the truck. I've never heard of that. I thought they went through everything with a fine-tooth comb. I don't know. What is your thoughts on this? Hopefully, everything will be in good process on getting this cab. I am going to try to figure out how to use it and record it and all that stuff because it's going to be outside, and so I can't bring it in here. Figure out how to do it, how far it comes off the ground, because it's just the cab. And so I got to figure all that out and so forth. So just tune in, subscribe. So when I do that video, you guys will be the first to see it. And again, leave your comments below, hit the like button, share with your friends, and we will see you guys in the next video. Please take care, be safe, and as always, keep nerding on, and we will see you guys in the next video.